Hey guys, that's right. So some of the 700 Marines in Los Angeles are expected to be deployed today to protect ICE agents, with thousands of National Guard troops waiting in the wings. So the LAPD says dozens of protesters were arrested for refusing to follow the curfew put in place by Mayor Karen Bass, who says it will likely last for several days. And California Governor Gavin Newsom is now vowing consequences for violent protesters, while still managing to throw digs at President Trump for even sending in the troops.
People will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces.
Newsom claims President Trump never called him when the protests broke out, but the president is bringing in the receipts, providing a screenshot to Fox News of a 16-minute phone call between him and Newsom on Saturday. And President Trump is not backing down on his efforts to stop these violent riots. He issued a stark message to any protesters who burn an American flag. Listen.
These are animals, but they proudly carry the flags of other countries. But they don't carry the American flag. They only burn it. People that burn the American flag should go to jail for 1 year. That's what they should be doing. 1 year. And we'll see if we can get that done.
Major cities like Seattle and Chicago are also facing similar anti-ICE protests, and in New York City, police arrested more than 80 protesters. And with reports that these protests could continue to spread, Texas Governor Greg Abbott isn't taking any chances. He's deploying the National Guard to San Antonio.
Guess what day? The tale of the rooftop camelos. Look down at the animals burn in the city of Lost Angels. Hey, Gavin! Go back and tell the others you got a small problem. The rooftop camels have a helicopter. Free rides for Gavin and the foreigners. But guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day? It's hump day.
Hot damn, it is good to be back. We are absolutely roasted here because we have been roasted and hazed at the Airborne and Special Forces training in Fort Bragg for the last 2 days. Get ready for some incredible content from that. It was an honor for us to spend so much time with our armed services on the largest army base, the largest military base on Earth, Fort Bragg. We were there with President Trump, Pete Hegseth, and the whole crew, and we have a spectacular documentary coming up for you, a mini doc. I went through Special Forces training, and let's just say I got my ever-loving ass kicked, ladies and gentlemen. So here we are, back again. It was an incredible day. We were literally embedded with Special Forces. We'll play you some clips later on in the show. It was an amazing time, and again, an absolute honor. While the left attacks our men and women in uniform, whether it's an ICE agent, or whether it's the military, or whether it's the Marines who are finally deployed to protect America, that'd be great. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be on the other side of that. What a difference in perspective and in vision for this nation, and we are going to crystallize all of that today on the program. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Gavin Newsom dragged and roasted in his attempts to own Donald Trump. This guy is destroying any chance he may have at running for president in 2028, is utterly atomizing it. It is a remarkable downfall. It's going to be exciting to cover. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing our own Gavin Newsom roast on the show today as LA is roasting, burning alive. This is what happens when you allow foreign invaders to take over your nation and insurrect parasitically. It's amazing, like they don't actually have any real ties to the land. They don't have any reason to keep the society orderly, and we're going to show you exactly what happens and what they wish to bring to your cities. What we've been talking about for a very long time. Elon Musk apologizes to Trump as well. Now, Keith, now, Keith. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, they're getting along again. Mark Mitchell, our favorite pollster in the world from Rasmusus, joins us to talk about the very bad inverse effect of the Democrat riots and criminal alien foreigner riots all throughout LA and every American city, it looks like. Representative Brandon Gill will also be on the program, along with former LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Make sure that you're locked in. There are very interesting bits of economic news. For instance, inflation just cooled, far lower than expected. Oh, I thought Trump's tariffs weren't going to work. Also, President Trump just announced that he has negotiated a trade deal with China. This is, of course, America's largest trading partner and will be very advantageous for Americans. Apparently, we're going to get 55% tariffs with China. They're going to tariff our goods 10%. Okay, very interesting. These are all breaking news right now. The landscape for the economics of the country are ever changing. This is going to make some stocks go up. This is going to make some stocks go down. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are sick of that and there's... let me just tell you, when there's like brass raining down on me, like from a minigun, and I'm sitting in the back and there's like explosions everywhere, wait till you see what we just did with the special forces. It's crazy. I don't need any more instability in my life. I go gold. I go gold with my friends at Advantage Gold. They have given me the solid best performer in my portfolio. Gold is the best performing asset in pretty much anyone's portfolio right now. It's something that I hope happens, dollar dominance, throughout the rest of my life. But no matter what, if I'm invested in gold, then I'm invested in something real. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the dollar is not real. Gold is booming and becoming the number one hedge against global currency shifts. You can move your IRA or 401k into physical gold right now, tax or penalty free. And you can get up to $10,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying account. Go today to Advantage Gold. AdvantageGold.com, AdvantageGold.com. You can text Benny to 85545. Text Benny, B-E-N-N-Y, to 85545. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and look at LA, shall we? I want to talk a little bit about what LA looks like today and the problems that are occurring and why they're happening. Because it's pretty obvious what's going on here. What's going on here is a bunch of people who didn't build this country, who have no ties to this nation, who aren't proud of this country, who are proud of other countries, in fact. This is why they wave their flags like this. They don't want to be here. In fact, you could argue that they hate this place. They certainly do not love it. And this is why they're burning this nation. They're setting it ablaze because they don't like us. They don't belong here, as we have said for a long time. We've often called them invaders and parasitic, and let me explain that a little step further. In the 1980s, a Alzheimer's. It was Alzheimer's that Reagan was suffering from. His liberal wives are the downfall of all of these men. I'm telling you, man. George W. Bush, liberal wife, Ronald Reagan, liberal wife, appointing all these liberals to the Supreme Court. But Ronald Reagan's liberal wife, who's always been a lib, a Hollywood lib, Nancy Reagan, she convinced him, plied him, and I would argue perhaps took advantage of him in the early stages of Alzheimer's to give mass amnesty to millions of illegals in California, saying once and for all that this would just end the criminal aliens that we have here right now, and we could just lock the doors and it won't really create any problems into the future. California had been, up to that point, one of the most Republican states in the country. California, of course, today looks like this. The reason why is because that didn't end it, that incentivized it. That incentivized further mass criminal immigration. Why? Because you rewarded people who were here illegally with lots of goodies. And then what happened? Well, Democrats were able to flip the state in a single election cycle. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Nobody ever covers this. How California went from red to permanent blue. Superstructure for Democrats. Super majorities in every house. Democrats can do anything they want in California. Republicans got nothing. Little enclaves here and there, that's it. When you incentivized the bad behavior by telling all the criminals that they can stay here permanently, get full citizenship status, that they're Americans, they're not, that they're Americans now, just as American as me and you, and they're entitled to all of the privileges. We're going to reward them for their criminal activity. Then you take these people, you addict them to government services with the reciprocal arrangement that they pledge fealty to the Democrat Party permanently because they're the ones who will protect you. It's like a mafia arrangement. It's just like a crime family. Pay the mob, they'll provide you protection. Everybody knows how the mob works. This is how the Democrat Party works in California. With millions, maybe tens of millions of criminal aliens. The numbers are that there's at least 1 million criminal illegals in LA alone. Well, there's your million deportations right there. That system accelerated over the last few years. The protections remained. California is a sanctuary state. Any criminal alien arrested in California gets put directly back out onto the street, is never turned over to ICE. The detainers that ICE places on these criminal aliens are never honored, and they actually sneak them out onto the street to offend even more. Why? Well, two reasons. You have to understand the dark purpose for all of this. One, electoral college votes. No Democrat will ever win the presidency again if California flips red again. California is the Democrats' biggest vote block. It's 53 electoral votes. How do they have so many electoral votes? Well, because the census counts persons in each district, not citizens. And that's the way it's written in our Constitution. So take it up with the founders. I don't like it. I want it to be amended. It should be only citizens. But Democrats have packed so many criminal illegals into these little tight corridors of California that they get extra seats in the House of Representatives. They get extra power through that system. And then, of course, illegal voting. As we have seen time and time again in the Trump administration, there have been, dozens, hundreds, thousands of people who have been prosecuted now for criminal alien voting. These are people who are not Americans who voted in our election, and they voted and their votes counted. They did. We now have dozens of circumstances, and if you can find, a few, guess how many there really are. How many illegal votes did Kamala Harris get? How many illegal votes just out of California does Kamala Harris receive with criminal alien voting? So it's perfect. They get to import new voters and new power, and the rest of us suffer. Our cities burn, and then flags are waved. Here, I want to put up the footage one more time. This is something that I find absolutely remarkable. Final thing. You'll notice here that there are Mexican flags being waved proudly as these criminal alien invaders, as we have called them consistently on this program for years, burn Los Angeles to the ground, a city that they did not build and in a side of a country they do not love. And what are they protesting exactly? Well, getting sent back to Mexico is what they're protesting. Well, that's crazy. They're screaming Viva la Mexico as they burn down America. And the moment an officer grabs them and sends them back to Mexico, they scream and cry. That don't make no sense. We should give these people what they want. Send them all back. Final take on this before we jump into all the news. We were right. I hate it. I hate that we were right. I don't like it. But we were right. For years, we have said that they're importing an army. They're importing people who are going to come here and are going to rip our country apart. They don't belong here. They didn't build this country and they don't love it. And what do you do to things that you don't love? In fact, what do you do to things that you disdain? If you get a chance to throw a brick, if you get a chance to set it on fire, you do. especially if you have no actual ties to the place. Your grandfather never fought for. The things that you feel about America, these people don't feel. Your parents, your grandparents, nobody ever suffered. None of these people's parents or families ever suffered or died for this place. They have no connection to, I don't know, D-Day was just a couple of weeks ago. Nothing was built. No one even like came over in like a ship, like an Ellis Island ship, right? Those are tough trips. Mayflower ships, like original immigrants to America, like these are tough. These are tough landings. This is the foundation of the country. The ancestors that actually came here and settled this land, well, they're actual immigrants. They're actual settlers. They chopped down the trees and built this place. What's happening here is parasites. A parasite is someone who enters a body when it's already healthy, operational, profitable, prosperous, and then takes. The parasite takes from you. It doesn't build anything. It doesn't add anything. It doesn't give anything. It takes. This is why the Mexican president is raging right now about Donald Trump wanting to tax remittances to Mexico. Hot damn, man. They should be taxed at 1,000%. You know, the number one source of income in Mexico is remittances from America. Did you know that? Mexico's not a real place. It's a fake place. Mexico's a failed state. We have a failed state on our southern border. Notice Donald Trump never talks about taking over Mexico. Although that's what happened back in the Mexican-American War, when American Marines were stationed in Mexico City and we kicked their asses. And then we settled this place, settled the score, drew the lines, and said your crumbling Spanish Empire, which, by the way, is European. Do you not understand that Spaniards are European? Do you not understand this? This is also settled by Europeans. Do you get it? That there's just California, like it's like there's all these protesters out. I'll show you footage of one. Here. This is amazing. This is you know, I don't know exactly what, you know, I don't know how to creatively describe what's about to happen here. This individual perfectly encapsulates what's going on in Los Angeles right now. She's there with I think he, I don't know. There with a leaf blower and homemade PPE is describing how California actually belongs to Mexico and that it's their land. It doesn't belong to America. Let me show you the final boss of these LA riots. Go.
This is our city, and this was Mexico. You can't kick us out of the land that was ours. Donald Trump! Fascism! Let our people free! Let our people free! Suelta nuestra gente!
What's the wind blower for?
Just for the fucking tear gas to blow it back at those motherfuckers. If you have a fucking blower, bring it up! Push them back! We will not do 1992 again with your tanks. I was 12 then. I'm 44 now. I will die for my kids. And all of these young people are here are my kids because I'm an LA native mom. These are my children you're fighting. You made your best. If you can hear me, expect me in your office on Monday for attacking my children.
If you could say something to Donald Trump right now, what would you say?
Donald Trump, you can suck my left nut. You can get out of my drawer. You're just mad because Salma Hayek wouldn't give you the time of day, and because Claudia Sheinbaum make you look like a loser.
All right, okay. Privileged, entitled, illegal, uneducated, ignorant, and obese. Raging and screaming with a leaf blower. Okay. That California belongs to Mexico. And that every Mexican in California, that they're just the ancestors of this, of course, is historically illiterate. Katy Perry saying effectively the same thing on a now viral Instagram post. First off, no. Spain abandoned Mexico and their entire colony there. Mexico then kept California for like a year, and then America just straight up mowed over and conquered it and then put Marines in Mexico City and said, you're a failed state. And they've remained a failed state since then. It's been about 200 years. And Mexico is a failed state. They were a European colony and now a failed state. They're a failed narco state. That's why the number one remittances, the number one source of income in Mexico is remittances from America. Do you understand? That's the definition of a failed state. And that is your LA rioter in a nutshell. These people are committing horrible crimes. They're attacking cops. They're attacking ICE agents. They're attacking our military. Donald Trump has deployed 700 Marines, active duty Marines there, along with the National Guard, along with ICE agents. And this is a moment to break the back of the left. This was, of course, something that was really effective during the Summer of Love George Floyd riots to destabilize President Trump. His team knows it, these mass protests, and so they are going to put it down. So good luck, ladies and gentlemen. Can we come up with a name, please, for this protester? Producers, I know you have. I'm pretty sleep deprived right now, so I know you have like plenty of suggestions for me. What's our name for this lovely protester, please? Thank you. Get me. I need the right nickname for this protester. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has been roasting Gavin Newsom, and it's been working. Gavin Newsom has had a bad day. Yesterday was probably the worst day of Gavin Newsom's life. Let's go through some of the interesting things that happened yesterday. Donald Trump said that I keep calling Gavin Newsom and, that he's not doing anything. Gavin Newsom says, no, Donald Trump never called me. Then Donald Trump releases this, as, of course, the state burns, a screenshot of a phone call with Gavin Newsom. 16-minute phone call. He's calling Gavin Newsom twice and then speaking with him. This is a total and complete humiliation for Gavin Newsom. Do we have the Fox clip in here? Where's the Fox clip? Where's John Roberts in the Fox clip with this? Where is it? This is okay. All right. This ends in Gavin Newsom's complete and total humiliation on live TV. Gavin Newsom said Trump's never called me, and then this like demonstrable lie is then like aired in front of the entire country. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. John Roberts explaining Gavin Newsom's lie.
Between Gavin Newsom and President Trump. Gavin Newsom, after President Trump said in the noon hour in the Oval Office that he called him yesterday or the other day, Gavin Newsom tweeted the following. He said, quote, "There was no call, not even a voicemail. Americans should be alarmed that a president deploying Marines on our streets doesn't even know who he's talking to." Well, President Trump contacted me from Air Force One on his way to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where he'll be in just a little while. He said the first call to Gavin Newsom was not picked up. The second call Gavin picked up. We spoke for 16 minutes. I told him to essentially, quote, and this is quoting the president, "get his ass in gear and stop the riots, which were out of control more than anything else. This shows what a liar he is. Said I never called." So here is the evidence. And here is the call log that the president sent me from his phone. This was June the 7th. Now, granted, this was on Saturday. But look, there's 1:22 o'clock in the morning. Which would have been 10 o'clock at night, 10:22 at night, California time. There was an outgoing call for 4 seconds. And then there was an outgoing call for 16 minutes. So that from the president, which says is proof that he spoke to Gavin Newsom early in the morning, our time, late at night, Friday night, would have been June 6th, I guess, in Los Angeles. So, Governor, over to you for the response.
Say that's next, right? We're waiting to see.
All right. There we go. Okay, very nicely roasted. And we have a couple of roasts here for our favorite protester from the LA riots. Let's begin with this suggestion. cheesy gordita crunch. Why not? Why not just like jump right in and say, well, why don't I just make it simple, right? It's let's just say we could name the problem and then see the problem right in front of our faces. Like the cause of the problem is also the name of the problem. The cheesy gordita crunch. Ding. That's right. We need the Taco Bell sound effect on the board. ChatGPT has a couple of suggestions. We asked AI, El Grito Grande, the Taco Titan, La Maria Mexicana, the Mexican Tide, implying a force of nature sweeping into the protest with momentum and weight. Okay. Very good. Very nice. I like the work here. I like the workshopping here. Nacho Libre. We're working on it. I like cheesy gordita crunch. I think we're just going to go. We have some from the chat here. Nacho Bell Grandma. Krispy Kreme Crash Test Dummy. And Mexican Twinkie. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we got good suggestions. We're working on it, and we're making sure that we get the right nicknames here. But cheesy gordita crunch, I think, is a very, very solid suggestion. Okay, a very bad suggestion for Gavin Newsom is to go fight Trump after these LA riots. And I'm sorry that we're catching up here. We just haven't done a show in 2 days, and so it was going to like lay the groundwork. So LA's on fire, you know that. Donald Trump's deployed the military, you know that. And now Gavin Newsom's deployed leaf blower cheesy gordita crunch. And also a live address to the nation. This is fascinating. So Gavin Newsom declares, not only am I running for president in 2028, because that's what this is all about, but I am going to deliver a live address to the nation. I'm going to do it. I've called for Tom Homan to arrest me. I'm not sure if we have that. Do we have that? I've called for Tom Homan to arrest me. Donald Trump said, sure, I'll let Tom Homan arrest you. And then Gavin Newsom says, it's time for me to stand up to Trump, the great deporter, and I'm going to deliver a live address, and it's going to just chill you to the bone. You're going to be awed by the eloquence, the beauty of my raconteur to Donald Trump. And here's what they ended up broadcasting. Go.
And
Mark
you're
Mullen,
sitting here.
If you hang on, let's listen in on Gavin Newsom, then I'll give you a chance to respond first. I don't think we have any volume. All right. I guess we have no. Is that on their end or is it on our end? I'm asking. That's on their end. Apparently a live feed. He's having a little bit of difficulty, Mark Mullen. If you have time for podcasts and MSDNC and to fight me on X and you on X, I think you're kind of missing the point. Or if you put handcuffs on police.
He absolutely is, Sean, but this is part of the best thing that could happen to him. He's having audio difficulties, but it shows how bad the state's being ran, too. Right?
This is what happens when you hire exclusively DEI candidates. So they sent out a pre-recorded message of Gavin Newsom. Now remember, this is supposed to be live. They send out what happened here, and this wasn't just Fox News. Here, we'll show you. Here's a local CBS station from Los Angeles. Go.
Okay, we are working on the audio. Not sure if that's on the governor's end, but we're working to get that production up and running for you so you can listen in. We certainly will have excerpts of what the governor has said, but we're efforting to get the...
What a clown show. What a clown show. So there's no audio. This is, again, supposed to be like the big slap back at President Trump. Then, when they finally get the new version of the pre-recorded Gavin Newsom, they doubled the audio, which is, of course, something that happens when you're utterly incompetent and can't run a stream. Thank God we have Killer Klein back in this chair. And more importantly, this is something that used to happen early on in our show when we were incompetent. I know that this sent PTSD shockwaves down ALX's spine, because this would happen to us very early on, years ago, when we were still building out our capacity here on the stream. This is what it sounded like.
Is about this. Is California may be first. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other democracy are next. Is democracy. Democracy is under democracy is before our eyes. This before.
It's, I mean, it's like impossible to listen to, right? Yeah. This is what was revealed here, is that Gavin Newsom changed the color grade on a pre-recorded, you put this up. This is a color grade change. You can see here, it's the exact same address. It's the same video. It's not live. They edited it and then ran it with audio, but it was clearly not live. This was taped. So this coward doesn't even have the ability to, he's not telling the truth about President Trump calling him. He's not able to go live as his state is in flames. And then when he finally was able to air the address that they wanted to air, here's what he says about Donald Trump.
Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. With that, that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 700 active U.S. Marines. These are the men and women trained for foreign combat, not domestic law.
Trained for foreign combat, not domestic. Well, let me ask you a little something. What's the purpose of the American military? The purpose of the American military is not to go conquer some godforsaken patch of sand in the middle of some place on the earth that no Marine could even find. It's not a knock at the Marines. It's just like, who the hell cares, actually? The purpose of the American military is not globalism for the elites and the toppling of tin pot dictatorships around the world. The purpose of the American military is the defense of the homeland. You dumb bastard. That's what the American military is here for. In fact, deploying Marines to LA in order to put down a foreign invasion and to arrest and hopefully deport the million criminal aliens that live there and strike fear in the heart of any foreign invaders, by definition, is the purpose of the American military. And has always been the purpose of the American military. The bastardization of the American military happened over the last 100 years, where it somehow became a projection of global empire. And that is not the purpose of this nation, if you look at our founders, or the purpose of the American military as it was formed. So yes, imagine the recruitment levels. I can imagine recruitment levels for the Marines are going to skyrocket when Americans see that they can repel foreign invaders, just like they did 150 years ago when Marines kicked the Mexican army's ass right back into Mexico City and then established a base there, where Zachary Taylor famously worked for years because Mexico City was a totally conquered American territory. All of Mexico bent the knee and fell before the might of the American military. Learn your history. It's called the Mexican-American War. Special little, fun little time in history. Should we have kept Mexico as a territory? Turned it into a state? I don't know. I'll leave that to the historians. But ladies and gentlemen, I did want to jump very quickly to President Trump on Los Angeles yesterday. We were at Fort Bragg with President Trump. We have a lot to show you from that trip. But here's the president talking about the riots in LA, and I thought this was particularly important.
Before going further, I want to say a few words about the situation in Los Angeles, California. Have you heard of the place? Where I've deployed thousands of National Guard troops and hundreds of Marines to protect federal law enforcement from the attacks of a vicious and violent mob. And some of the radical left, they say, oh, that's not nice. Well, if we didn't do it, there wouldn't be a Los Angeles. It'd be burning today, just like their houses were burning a number of months ago. Generations of Army heroes did not shed their blood on distant shores only to watch our country be destroyed by invasion and third world lawlessness here at home, like is happening in California. As Commander-in-Chief, I will not let that happen. It's never going to happen. What you're witnessing in California is a full-blown assault on peace, on public order, and on national sovereignty carried out by rioters bearing foreign flags with the aim of continuing a foreign invasion of our country. We're not going to let that happen.
We are not going to let that happen. Gavin Newsom, of course, sued Donald Trump for deploying the Marines to put down this foreign insurrection inside of an American city, a once great American city, and he lost that lawsuit. A federal judge denied Democrat California Governor Gavin Newsom's request to quash Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard troops to riot zones in L.A. Judge Charles Breyer, who was appointed by former President Bill Clinton, denied Newsom's emergency request for a temporary restraining order regarding Trump deploying 4,000 National Guardmen to Los Angeles. So they're suing in order to let L.A. burn. These people, they're truly evil bastards. You have to assume that this isn't going over well with the American people. And the reality is, no, it is absolutely not. Even CNN knows this. I'm going to play Harry Ensign on CNN describing how Americans are reacting here, but then we're going to be joined by Mark Mitchell, who is our favorite pollster. I want his take on this clip, and he has some brand new data from Rasmussen about how this is all playing with the American people. Here we go. First CNN.
Start off on the fact that immigrant citizens, immigrant voters, foreign-born voters have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats, more so than any other group that I could find. The group of voters who became more hawkish on immigration were in fact immigrants themselves, immigrants who are registered to vote in this country.
So that's on that issue. How about how they feel about kind of traditionally, historically about Donald Trump?
Yeah, so, you see this shift and you go, what is going on underneath the hood? Well, take a look, Donald Trump. You remember when he first ran back in 2016, immigrant voters were one of his weakest spots. But look at this, Trump's vote share in presidential elections among, again, immigrant citizens, those who are registered to vote. Look at this. In 2016, he got 36% of the vote. You go to 2020, 39% of the vote. Look at this, in 2024, all the way up to 47% of the vote. Some polls I looked at had him barely losing that vote. Some.
We've said it before, and we'll say it a million times again. Come to this country legally, go through the process, leave the kingdoms, princes, kings, customs of the failed land that you left behind in the ashes where they belong, assimilate, learn English, learn our culture, and you get a strong America. Come here with your own culture to try and create your own land here, get deported. The people that practice the latter, which is the way you actually got America in the first place, right? You get America by 250 years ago, people coming here and creating this land and creating a culture here. We are a unique people. We are our own people and our own culture. We are not tax cattle for a global empire, and we are not just an economic zone. Abandon your homeland entirely, leave those shackles behind, come here and totally assimilate, and then add something and help us build this place, then fine, as long as that process is under control. Come here and try to recreate Somalia in Minneapolis, it will fail every single time. And is failing across the spectrum. Joining us now live with the numbers to explain how this is playing with the American people is the great Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports, our favorite pollster on earth. Here we go. Mark, thank you for joining us this morning. Love some of your posts on X, and this is now we're able to see some of the data of how this is all playing with the American people. This is the biggest story in the country, and really seems to be like the flashpoint for the 2024 election. This is what everybody voted on. Now, Harry Enton over on CNN is saying that Donald Trump is actually winning over new immigrants to this country in mass, and that Americans who want this place to stay America really like what they're seeing. So the floor is yours, Mark. What does your data show?
Harry's a smart guy, and he's good at looking at the polling. I will say that. But what he's better, off the charts, like 11 out of 10 good at, is acting surprised. Because this is something we've been talking about for years. It's not like some surprise, like the Democrats lost, and then in retrospect, they're like, well, maybe we really shouldn't have pushed against every Donald Trump agenda item on immigration and the border invasion. No, I mean, the numbers were clear the entire time that the Democrats were going to lose on this issue. We had over 60% of Americans saying that the border crisis was an invasion purposely caused by Joe Biden years ago. And so for them to act surprised now is absolutely crazy. But what I wonder about, and the question I have, and the thing I've been tweeting about most, is that the Democrats are very clearly playing a losing game here. And so I think it's reasonable to get suspicious about why they're doing that. Gavin Newsom out there literally making this his soapbox, like die on a hill issue, is absolutely insane, because we have like 80% of Americans. How important is it that illegal immigrants who commit crimes in America should be deported? 56% very important, another 23% somewhat important, 79%, only 17% say not important, only 5% not at all important. So he's going after that 5%. Like, that's his constituency right now. And listen, after the BLM riots, Americans got really good at spotting fake performative garbage, because they did not like that. I'll tell you what, the whole mostly peaceful riot thing, that was only 35% of people a month after it happened. And so it's not going to work. It's going to be worse for them. And I can only surmise that Gavin Newsom's plan right now is to just resist Trump at all costs and basically rule over the ash heap of the Democrat Party.
So you're telling me that this is based on the data, not based on a talking point, not based on a joke or a meme, but based on the hard data, they are on a 80-20 issue, or maybe a 90-10 issue, or basically, a 95-5 issue?
Yes. I mean, there's many ways to measure this. They're all bad. They're all bad. And yet he's out there doing it, fighting it. And the only thing I could say is, well, he doesn't mind losing national elections. He just wants to be at the top of the Democrat Party. But Democrats don't like this guy at all. He polls horrible compared to Kamala Harris. You ask Democrats, this is just like a month or two ago, who should the candidate be for 2028? Kamala Harris still leads 40%. Gavin Newsom polls at 10. Wow. This is a guy that his own state, California, tried to recall him. Almost 40% voted yes. And the state moved 10 points to the right since 2020. And that's before Los Angeles burned to the ground. So I just don't know where he's going here. His polling has been horrible. He was trailing in a head-to-head against Donald Trump. He was trailing Joe Biden by about 6 points. And so that was before everything that's happened. He's just not politically viable. Now, I don't think we should underestimate the Democrats' ability to turn on the dime and vote for a hand sandwich. But we talked about Kamala being a very bad candidate. He's way, way worse, according to the polling, than she is.
I want to move to Trump in just a second, but a final question on Gavin. Have you narrowed in on California? Do you have any data from California, Mark, either from your polling or others, that show how Gavin's response to this is affecting his polling internally in the state? As governor, obviously, that's going to be very important for his legacy, for his ability to pass power on. Is this destroying everything that Newsom's built? Because LA has now burned to ashes for the second time in 3 months.
Yeah. What we have personally from our own data is a data point when we went in and polled LA, and LA residents, Gavin Newsom was trailing Kamala Harris in favorability in the state. We haven't had a chance to go into California yet, but Insider Advantage did, and they're a very good pollster. And they have people. What's the question here? What's your opinion of President Trump's decision in recent days to deploy National Guard and federal military to downtown Los Angeles? 59% of Californians approve of that. No, sorry, this is national. 59% approve, 90% of Republicans, 37% of Democrats, and 56% of independents. So this is literally exactly in line with every other thing we've polled on. Do you support mass deportations? Yeah, about 65%. Do you support militarizing the border? Yes. Is it a border invasion? Yes. Are the Democrats purposely doing it? Yes. Is the great replacement theory a core component of the Democrat Party? Yes. But we've all of this over and over again for years. We have all this data. Democrats don't want to know about it. And Harry Enton's also right. He talks about immigrants. We've confirmed those numbers as well. But more frequently, we poll on race. And on every single one of these questions, Hispanic voters poll to the right of white voters.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So just really quickly unpack that. So you're saying that Hispanic voters, and you're talking about Hispanic origin, but they are naturalized American citizens. They're citizens, right, of this country.
These are self-identified U.S. likely voters who also self-identify as Hispanic. And Republicans are up 29 points on the issue of immigration. I mean, like, that's just crazy, Bill. 77% say it's important to deport criminal illegal aliens. 67% agreed with that Bukele quote about liberating Americans by incarcerating the criminals. They rate Trump 42% excellent on the issue of immigration, 16% good. So that's almost 60%. Over and over again. What's this one? 72% at least somewhat support deporting Venezuelan gang members. It just goes on and on and on. The numbers are off the charts.
Yeah, it's been a curiosity to me, and I've not received a sufficient answer, Mark, for why they will wave Mexican flags and scream "Viva la Mexico" and then shriek about being deported back to that same land. They'll make they'll make no sense. I just went to community college, so I don't claim to be smart, but maybe somebody could unpack that for me one of these days.
So many inconsistencies down there on the streets, throwing their bricks of peace. When we all know it's just they're being paid. It's all performative. But the question is why? And again, this is not a political winner for Gavin Newsom at all. It's worse than it's ever been because people are really tuned into this issue right now. And here's the thing. I think they are probably fishing. I think they're playing with their 60s and 70s radical playbook where they're going to get some kind of optics that they can put all over mainstream media and say, oh, look at how evil the Republicans are. This is not the same country that responded in shock and horror to the Elian Gonzalez photo. No. This is not who people are. You can't pick those optics. The society picks those optics. And what I see is society fist pumping every time they see some Marine take down a protester with a club or something.
Yeah, body a protester. Yep, that's exactly right.
And let's not pretend that this is some kind of like foreign invasion of troops. Where are those Marines coming from? They're coming from less than 2 hours away at 29 Palms. Like, these are all people that just got called off the beach in Malibu to mobilize. That's who these Marines are. So it's just absolutely ridiculous.
There's absolute like criminal alien privileged criminal alien that's here to destroy this country. There's that fatigue. There's leftist revolutionary fatigue in this country because we just went through like 5 straight years of that, and we all saw the results. The early returns are not great. And so that I mean, it's just over. I see nothing that could flip this back to like even a 50-50 issue. But right now, you're exactly right. It's about a 90-10. It's about 90-10 right now, and the Democrats are fighting for the 10%.
Yeah, look at 2020. It was about a Democrat plus 5 or 6 electorate, right? Joe Biden got a 4% national popular vote, sort of. Is the mob violence that has continued for weeks in several major cities primarily legitimate outrage over police or mostly criminals taking advantage of the situation? This is July of 2020. Country's moved 6 points right since then. And only 32% said it was legitimate outrage over police. 57% said it was criminals taking advantage of the situation. And this is when America, quite frankly, was really just waking up to the depths that our insane government will go in order to push this oppression down people's throats. And so it's not the same country. Since then, even, the numbers are going to be off the charts. We're going to be in the 60s on all the questions that we ask. And it's really wild because there's no intent behind any of this. It really makes absolutely no sense. First off, leftists have been trying to jumpstart riots for months now. If you go look at Reddit, they've been having all these little performative things where the boomers come out to Tesla stations. It hasn't been taken off. And so for all of a sudden, for the Antifa looter types to show up out of nowhere for no reason on no news. That's pretty crazy. It absolutely makes no sense. But then what was also happening is the polling around this big, beautiful bill is not good. Donald Trump's numbers are really high. Like, that's one of the things I tweeted this morning. His overnights over the last couple of days have been shooting up. So Trump approval is doing great. I think he's up 4 or 5 points today, 52%. Right direction numbers are surging right back up. But people are paying attention to Republicans. And what happened now? The left just took the focus off Congress, who I quite frankly think is failing the president, as do voters, and put it on these riots. Wow. They literally interrupted the enemy when he's making a mistake. Like, you can't violate the laws of the art of war. Like, what are you doing? That's what they're doing right now. It absolutely is incomprehensible.
This is remarkable. Trump's overnight approval is in. Last night's single overnight approval, nearly 56%. Overall 5-day approval is got to be in the 55s, right? It's got to be in the high 50s.
52. I think we still have some high 40s that have to roll off. It's going up. His approval, people are responding to this. It's going up. The overnights are noisy, but you know.
So lock it in. Lock it in, Mark. Like, so give me the brass tacks on what these criminal alien foreign invader riots have done for President Trump's approval.
I mean, it's still happening. We'll see. I think he's going to hit 53, which is where he was in the beginning of his second term. So this is Trump honeymoon numbers. Wow. And they think that this is his weak point. It really makes no sense. Almost as if a foreign adversary is directing the actions. What else can we conjecture? I mean, like, give me another reason.
So right direction is now surging as well?
47% right direction, 48% wrong track, net -1. The highest we'd ever seen going into this was parity. Right direction hit 50% a week or two ago. Maybe we'll get back there. For the first time in 20 years, a majority of U.S. likely voters saying the country is headed in the right direction. But here's another thing, right? Does it make sense that there are widespread youth riots in a country where youth right direction is over 40%, almost 50%? It absolutely makes no sense.
It only makes sense if the youth who are rioting don't belong here, Mark. If they're here criminally, illegally, and they don't want to go home to their countries. That's the only way that it makes sense.
Yep. Or they're being backed by CIA cutouts. I don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Or Walmart heiresses, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the final takeaway here is that this seems totally the riot seemed astroturfed because the youth rioting, like the youth numbers, don't match up to mass riots around the country. Correct takeaway?
Yeah, I think they want political violence because I'll tell you, there's one more personal story I'll say. I used to work for Walmart. That thing about the Walton heirs kind of pisses me off. But what I saw when they put that list of where these No Kings rallies is going to be is I live really close to Asbury Park, New Jersey. I'm actually going to be hundreds of yards away from where they're having this rally this weekend. And the intersection they picked, Atkins and Springwood, was the very first place that the fire started in the Asbury Park riots in the summer of 1970. That's what they want. They want to recapture that. They want to recapture the Hard Hat riots. They want to recapture Kent State. And I don't know if it's just like, again, 70s radicalist LARPing, or if it's just, well, you know, they ran out of playbooks in their color revolution guide and they're just repeating page. I don't know. But that's the exact, I look at the maps of where the smoke's coming from in 1970, and it's the same street corner, literally the same street corner.
So this is where all the organic protests with the protesters with their very expensive gas masks and just pallets of bricks and cinder blocks that just randomly happen to be delivered to the exact protest sites.
Yeah.
This is where they're going to be, ladies and gentlemen. Keep
Yeah,
your head
fueled
on
probably by the Action Network, the Obama community organizing, protester tool, with probably all kinds of taxpayer money funneled into it, or maybe foreign adversary money. I don't know. Who's tracing that stuff? So fake.
But you're saying that instead of harming Trump, this is actually reinforcing Trump's message that we have foreign invaders in this land and they wish to destroy this place.
100%. All of those Colombian riots didn't help anything. These aren't going to help anything. The Summer of Love just made people mad. It's one of the reasons that Trump won. Crime was a top issue. It wasn't the number one issue because the economy was so bad, but crime like got to the top. Kitchen table issues. People were worried about prices. They were worried about jobs, the economy, crime, and illegal immigration. And illegal immigration is part economy and part crime. It's like both all rolled into one.
Man, I mean, it really is like Trump can't lose here. It's amazing. Like they just keep handing him wins. They're handing them to President Trump. Well, thanks, guys. Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen reports. Go follow. You know Mark. Way just skyrocket. Look at Mark's approval numbers. Way past six figures on X. 107,000 Americans. Can't be wrong. Follow the most accurate pollster in America. And more importantly, Mark, stay safe this weekend as they try and burn down your hometown.
Yeah. They better not come after me. I'm going to be packing.
Yeah, my man. All right. Thank you, Mark. Godspeed. Ladies and gentlemen, libs are trying to burn down houses all across America. They're trying to burn down our proverbial house. Make sure that you protect your house with my friends at American Financing. American Financing can ensure that through the equity in your home, you can pay off extremely high credit card debt. This high credit card debt can be interest rates of 25 and 35%. Of course, that should be criminal, but nonetheless, this is a massive problem for Americans, and data shows that more Americans than ever are trapped in credit card debt. American Financing can liberate you and let you have the freedom that is required to make sure that we seize our golden era right now. People are contacting American Financing. They're saving customers on average of $800 a month using the equity in their homes to finally break free from credit card debt. Owe it to your family to see what's possible. No upfront fees, no pressure, costs you nothing, to find out how much you could save every single month. If you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing today at 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. They'll take care of you, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of somebody who's been taking care of business in Congress, the Texas representative and Congressman Brandon Gill joins us live right now. I'm sure he has some very interesting takes on this current issue in Los Angeles. Let's go. Congressman, I just want to say, wow, you were right in all of this. And then follow that up with congratulations on becoming a father.
Thank you. We've got a little baby Winston, about a month old now. It really is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, sincerely. It's wonderful to build a family on this land, to do it correctly, to start something that you're willing to fight for.
Yep.
I think a lot of people don't get this. A lot of the people that you see in these riots are very by definition childless, miserable, angry, and didn't build this country and don't love it, and so they're perfectly happy to burn it to the ground.
Yeah, that's right. Whenever you look at these riots, think of where this comes from. You have illegal aliens who entered our country illegally, who are now rioting and burning our cities down to allow more people to enter this country illegally. And they're doing it with the support. Oftentimes, you have liberals who are at those protests helping them. I mean, they're creating total anarchy and chaos. You can see the pictures right now. Yes. This is what an invasion looks like. This is what it looks like to have your country taken away from you. Yes. Whenever foreigners can come in through Biden's open borders and wave foreign flags with the support of foreign governments. We've seen officials from the Mexican government encouraging these protests, trying to influence domestic policy in the United States, particularly around taxation of remittances and other things. So this is a serious problem. It's an invasion, and we are seeing the fruits of Biden's open borders right now. This is why it is so important, not only to pass the big, beautiful bill, which would fund mass deportation, something the president ran on, something the majority of Americans agree with, but also to fund border security and to make sure that we do not allow this problem to get even bigger than it is now.
In the first term, President Trump's pretty famous for saying the wall just got 10 feet higher, right? When Mexico complained about building the wall. Now that Mexico's government and Mexico's president has decided to directly attack and call for riots here in our country, what should happen to Mexico, Congressman?
Well, in my view, the remittance tax that we have in this one big beautiful bill should be about 10 times higher after this. Listen, Mexico should not have any influence on domestic politics in the United States, certainly not over our tax policy, not over our immigration policy. These are things that should be determined by American citizens, people who live in this country, who follow our laws, who are loyal only to this country, and who are trying to make this country better, who call the United States home, not foreign government officials. So that's a huge problem. I think that we've got to push back against this, and I think this bill is a good way to do it. But listen, the idea that a foreign government official has the gall to encourage looting and rioting in the United States is disgusting.
Yeah, maybe you can educate me. What are the taxes on remittances right now? Why aren't they at 100% or 1,000%? That seems insane. And then we looked it up, and Congressman, that's like the #1 source of income in Mexico is Mexicans taking money out of the American economy and sending it back to Mexico, which was shocking to us.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge problem. You know, fundamentally, we ask, what is this country? What is America? And the answer for some people is we're nothing more than an economic zone. We're a libertarian sort of paradise where full of atomized units who are just here for economic opportunity. Now, economic opportunity is a big part of the American dream. It's something we all get to experience and we all get to enjoy the fruits of. But fundamentally, America is our home. It's someplace that we live, that we're loyal to, that we raise our children in. It's something that we create a coherent culture that all of the economic opportunity sits on top of. So what we've had for a long time is illegal aliens coming into our country, taking jobs, and then taking that money overseas and giving it, sending it back home, their home, to Mexico. I think that's a problem. In this bill, the one big beautiful bill, we have a small remittance tax in there. I think that is not only entirely justified, if anything, like I said, it should be higher. It should be closer to 50, 60, 100%. I'd be totally fine with that, particularly given the situation that we're in now. But this is a real problem with foreigners who see our country not as a place that we call home, but as a marketplace to extract wealth from.
I've been seeing a number of prominent influencers calling for an absolute and total ban on third world migration to the nation. What is your take on that, Congressman?
Well, here's the problem with both illegal and legal immigration. You see on the illegal side, we've had open borders for a long time. And honestly, we've had open borders for before Joe Biden was in office.
Correct. Yes.
Basically, if you think of for my entire life, we've had a border crisis. Except during the first Trump presidency, where you saw real, meaningful, tangible efforts to secure the border. Of course, Democrats fought him, tried to tie up everything he did at the courts.
And Republicans, right? Yeah,
and
Paul Ryan, who refused to fund the border.
And you know, for historically, there was a problem where Democrats, I think, wanted to import voters. That was very clearly, I mean, in their own words, their goal. I mean, that was part of their grand political strategy. And too often you had groups of Republicans who would go along with it because they wanted to import cheap labor. And that was good. That, of course, is good for big business if they can reduce their labor input costs. So there was a problem for a long time. Trump did a lot to get rid of it. Biden just blew our borders open. I mean, 15+ million illegal aliens coming in completely lawlessly, total chaos at our southern border. So that is the first thing that I think we've got to be focused on. And we've got a president who's doing it. He did it. He secured the border. Border apprehensions down 95% plus. And now we're beginning deportations, which, by the way, the majority of Americans agree with. They recognize that we are a country of laws. And if you want to come here, you need to come here legally. Now, on the legal immigration side, we've got serious problems right now. We let in about 1 million permanent residents every single year. Of those, about 250,000 are via chain migration, another thing that's extremely unpopular with most Americans. That's where somebody comes in legally and then they say, I want my sons and then their wives and then their cousins and on and on and on, basically limitlessly. That's a key problem. We have other massive buckets of legal immigration that have nothing to do with what is in America's best interest. They're diversity lotteries, or that's what they're called at least, where we're basically picking people randomly. That's a problem. In my opinion, our legal immigration system, and I know I'm giving you a longer answer than perhaps you were asking for, should be based on what is in the best interest of our country and of our people, the people who call America home. And that's what we've got to move towards.
So would you be in favor of an absolute ban of third world immigrants? I guess would be the politically correct term for it.
Yeah, I think we need to move in that direction. I think that there are people who can come to the United States and can contribute to American society. My father-in-law, for instance, came here from India. He came here on a student visa. By the way, he has been, for the past 30 years, one of the most eloquent opponents of multiculturalism and of mass migration. So that's the kind of person that we want to bring into our country. What we don't want is infinity immigration from third world countries, particularly of cheap labor. And that's what we've had for a long time. I think that the goal, whenever somebody comes into this country, is to fully assimilate into American society. And for that to happen, we need a drastic reduction in all forms of immigration. Right now, the foreign-born population is just about the highest it's ever been in American history. That's a problem. Whenever you think of what America means, it's you hear the idea of the melting pot. And then the follow-up question is, okay, if we're a melting pot, what are we melting into? Yes. We do have a distinct culture in the United States. We have a distinct heritage, and that is undermined by mass migration. Whenever you're allowing people to come in and set up limitlessly and have their own ethnic and linguistic and cultural conclaves that don't assimilate with the rest of America. And mass migration does that.
Yes, I'm so glad that you brought up that point, because we've all seen what's happened to Minneapolis. It's not Minneapolis anymore. You brought in infinity Somalian refugees, right? And that's a lie. You brought in infinity Somalians to Minneapolis, and now it's turned into miniature Somalia with their own rules, customs, heritage, language. It's no longer Minneapolis, period. And then and you're seeing the effects of that now in Los Angeles as well, where you've done the exact same thing, and then when pushed, that cultural bubble reacts violently against American culture and law and order. Mm-hmm. And you can't run a country like that. This country is very big. It's very complicated, and you can't run an atomized nation like that. It'll break into pieces.
That's exactly right. And remember that this isn't about hatred or distrust of foreigners. This is about loving the people who live in America right now. This is about recognizing that all of the opportunities that people in other countries see in America, the economic opportunities, the freedoms that we have, all of that sits on top of a cultural foundation that is uniquely American, that is rooted in historical experience. And that is the foundation that we need to preserve. We're conservatives. That's what we should be preserving so that we can keep this the land of opportunity, so that our children and grandchildren can have the same opportunities that we had. Yeah. We've seen really big problems with housing prices, with social services being stretched because of mass migration. That's the problem that we're trying to solve here.
Yes. I want to just really quickly zoom in on Texas, because Texas is in the news for two quick things. One is the Epic City construction, which I think sort of exactly anchors and cements your point here. Can you give us an update on that? I'm not sure how close your district is to this, but I'm sure you have an opinion on it. This is, of course, if you're unfamiliar, the Sharia law city that was being built on 450 square miles in Texas. It was going to be a massive city ruled effectively and dictated under Muslim Sharia law.
Yeah, listen, this is close to my district. We've got, I hear about this a lot from constituents. The reality is that Sharia law has no place in the United States. I think that Islam as an overarching ideology is largely incompatible with Western civilization. You ask yourself, you have a lot of people from Islamic countries who want to come into the United States. How many Americans want to move to Islamic countries? Not very many. And there's a reason for that. It's because we have different cultures, different cultural values, different laws and customs that are based on those cultures. And we don't want to bring that into the United States. We don't want Sharia law here. We don't want laws banning apostasy from Islam that you often see in Sharia. We don't want a lot of the sort of brutal reality of Sharia law, of stoning gays, of dropping them off of buildings. That is something that is utterly incompatible with our civilization. We are based on freedom of religion, freedom of speech, constitutional values that frankly just do not mesh with Islamism as an ideology.
Preach it, right? Like that. I mean, you can go read the original document of this country and then go point by point inside of the Bill of Rights and then match it up with nations that are under Sharia law and say, how many of these are compatible, in fact? And the answer is none. The answer is virtually none, because they're religious ethno-states. And that's not what this country was set up to be. And you don't want to live in a country like that, but there are plenty of them that exist, and you can go move to one, I guess, if that's what you want. The other question I have for you is a very quick historic one. I just went to community college, Congressman, so I don't consider myself a very smart guy. And maybe I'm
smarter
not able...
than most people who went to college, I can tell you that.
Am I smarter than an astronaut? Well, here's Katy Perry's post on Instagram today. Katy Perry said that Los Angeles is actually not an American city, and that it is a Mexican city, even though Mexico, in the time period she's talking about here, was Spain. It was a Spanish territory, and so effectively it's Spanish, which I know is crazy, but is actually European. And so what she's saying here is that California belongs to Mexico, and the people that are protesting here are actually the true Californians, the ones who are waving Mexican flags and burning LA to the ground. I'd love to just have you respond to that, considering the fact that, Texas is quite a diverse place as well. And Texas, the Alamo, the Mexican-American War, you have quite a history with these kind of things in Texas, Congressman.
We do, and I would ask, I guess, what these areas were before they were Spanish or before they were Mexican. They were Native American, I guess you would say. Spain went and colonized this territory. They got independence. It was Mexican for about only a couple decades before becoming American. But I do think there's a fundamental problem with looking at any swath of territory and saying that this was formerly controlled by a different power or a different culture, and therefore it should revert to that power. We know that most of the entire United States was Native American before the colonists came to the United States and made them the United States. That doesn't mean that we need to cede our territory back to them. And we also know that Native Americans were not a homogenous group before Europeans came. They were composed of multiple different Indian tribes who were often warring with each other, who were often taking each other's land by force, oftentimes brutally. And then the Europeans came and we colonized this land. We built the greatest civilization the world has ever seen. So to say that this is anything other than American territory or should revert back to Mexico or Spain, I guess you would say, or any other civilization, I think is utterly ludicrous.
By this logic, I guess you have to give Massachusetts back to England, and give Florida back to the Dutch, and Louisiana back to the French. So,
right.
Way to go, Katy Perry.
Give large portions of Europe back to the tribes that controlled them before the Roman Empire expanded. I mean, you can go through history and say that somebody was here before we were, or before any other group.
Just really quickly, would you call Katy Perry an astronaut, Congressman?
I would absolutely not. I think she is a wealthy woman who got a nice trip to space, and that's about it.
Okay. Thank you very much. And in conclusion, is Texas ever giving back the Alamo to Mexico? This is Katy Perry's logic as well.
Absolutely not. We will remember the Alamo and we will defend it.
Thank you, Congressman. Well done. You've passed your Texas Congressman test. Here we go. You should also follow the Congressman. He has 200,000 followers on X right here, his official account. And again, celebrate new fatherhood. I think we might have a photo that you posted here of baby boy. There you go. There you go. Congratulations,
man. Thank you very much.
Best feeling on earth.
It really is.
Let's do a whole podcast on fatherhood sometime soon. Being a young father and how important that is. Godspeed, Congressman.
Yep. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was hot fire, is what we call that. Goodness gracious. What clarity do we have these days? How are we blessed with such rings like a bell clarity with our members of Congress? We certainly do have quite a bench coming up that is young. I don't know exactly Brandon Gill's age. I would have to assume that it's maybe in his 30s, perhaps. I'm not sure. How old is he? 31. Okay, nailed it. Young 30s. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to stay young and if you want to have a crisp mind and able to see things as clearly as Congressman Gill, then make sure that you are recharging the way that I recharge every single evening with my Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket. I told you that I'm going to share a photo of me using it on the show. I am sorry that I have not been able to do that yet. We were taken offline for the last 2 days. We didn't know that we'd be at Fort Bragg. Let me tell you, after that trip, which was wild and exhausting, I don't know how these guys do it in Special Forces. After that trip, I was needing my infrared sauna blanket. It helps me relax, helps me chill out. It's good for the skin. It's good for the soul. It's good for the mind. It's why some of the smartest professionals in the industry use saunas and use infrared blankets, including my nurse wife, who's quite a little health and wellness following herself, and she loves Bond Charge. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that Bond Charge ships worldwide? All products are HSA and FSA eligible, pre-tax savings of up to 40%, plus free shipping on every sauna blanket. A 12-month warranty. Go to bondcharge.com/Benny and use coupon code Benny, save 15%. BONCHARGE.com/Benny. Use coupon code Benny to save 15%. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Products are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any disease or condition. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we lock back in. Let's continue. President Trump with some excellent commentary on. Is this from the speech yesterday? I wanted to get to that because Donald Trump's speech yesterday was incredible. Paid agitators. What's actually going on in L.A.? What is properly happening? Here's Donald Trump calling it out.
Are you concerned about anything that could go wrong by having the military there? They're trained for different purposes.
No, it can only go right. By having the military, it de-escalates. I mean, that was the only way. These people are agitators. They're troublemakers. I believe many of them are paid. I watched them breaking up the sidewalks with a big hammer, handing pieces of the concrete to other people.
Who do you think is paying for that?
Somebody's paying for it. Thank you.
Might have something to do with it.
Thank you for saying that. Somebody's paying for that. I watched total professionals. He's banging the curb, banging the granite, banging the concrete. And he had a whole group of people. They lined up like totally professional, grabbed the big chunks, and they dropped it on the soldiers. They dropped it on the Los Angeles police. These are insurrectionists, they're agitators, or troublemakers. At a minimum, they're troublemakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump going ham yesterday in the speech from Fort Bragg. It was an awesome speech. It's something that we really need you to hear. The full clip of Donald Trump taking down Gavin Newsom yesterday. Here we go. Donald Trump on Los Angeles.
Before going further, I want to say a few words about the situation in Los Angeles, California. Have you heard of the place? Where I've deployed thousands of National Guard troops and hundreds of Marines to protect federal law enforcement from the attacks of a vicious and violent mob. And some of the radical left, they say, oh, that's not nice. Well, if we didn't do it, there wouldn't be a Los Angeles. It'd be burning today, just like their houses were burning a number of months ago. Generations of Army heroes did not shed their blood on distant shores only to watch our country be destroyed by invasion and third world lawlessness here at home, like is happening in California. As Commander-in-Chief, I will not let that happen. It's never going to happen. What you're witnessing in California is a full-blown assault on peace, on public order, and on national sovereignty carried out by rioters bearing foreign flags with the aim of continuing a foreign invasion of our country. We're not going to let that happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was not the clip that I was wanting. I wanted Gavin Newsom. Do we have this? President Trump on Gavin Newsom. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we cruise through, and let me know on the sheriff. Do we have the sheriff? No? All right. Well, we apologize for that. The sheriff has had to cancel on our program because of technical difficulties. Hopefully the rioters didn't hit the sheriff, but we do know somebody who has been hit now with an indictment federally. Our favorite ratchet-ass member of Congress, LaMonica McIver, has been indicted on 3 federal charges. Oh, yeah. She fought with ICE agents, and now she's going to find out. LaMonica McIver was indicted yesterday. Alina Habba posting on X. Let's read. Today, federal grand jury seated in Newark, New Jersey, returned a 3-count indictment charging U.S. Representative LaMonica McIver with forcibly impeding and interfering with federal law enforcement officers. This indictment has a maximum penalty of 8 years for count 1, additional maximum penalty of 8 years for count 2, and a maximum penalty of 1 year in prison for count 3. So that's 17 years in prison if you're keeping track. As I've stated in the past, it's my constitutional obligation as the chief federal law enforcement officer for New Jersey to ensure that our federal partners are protected when executing their duties. While people are free to express their views against particular policies, they must not do so in a manner that endangers law enforcement. Today's decision by grand jury is the next step in a process my office will officially pursue. Here's the footage that was sent to us from DHS of LaMonica being a criminal and going to hopefully la jail. You can see her, she's in red. You can see her pushing, shoving, impeding, elbowing, and being a criminal against these lawful agents of the federal government. And then what she says here is that she's going to effing destroy the career of one of these ICE agents. And, well, now it looks like her career is destroyed. I want to, make something, I want to establish something very important here. This is a Republican member of Congress named George Santos. George Santos was also federally indicted, and George Santos is going to go to prison. Okay, there's different charges. It was like a money laundering, tax evasion kind of thing. The point is that George Santos, as soon as he was indicted, was kicked out of Congress, like that. So then where the hell is LaMonica McIver? We need a vote now, like today, to kick her out. Now, Republicans were in charge of Congress when George Santos was kicked out, as soon as his indictment hit. So now Republicans are going to completely cuck and not bring that to the floor? Like, you need that vote immediately, like right now. It's the exact same situation. You need to kick her out of Congress, let there be a special election, vote to expel her. This is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Elon Musk admitting that some posts that he wrote about Donald Trump went too far. Good. Now, Keith. Give me the meme. Now, Keith. Get me the meme. Mike Tyson. Let's go. Now, Keith. Elon Musk is saying that now, completely walked into an apology. He has deleted his posts about President Trump. These, of course, as we said on the show, and as we said in a ton of other pieces of content we've done on this, totally and utterly inappropriate, and that he needed to apologize. And now he's apologized. Ladies and gentlemen, here's his apology. Elon Musk, I regret some of the posts that I made about President Trump last week. They went too far. Said that Donald Trump was on the Epstein list and so on. Was this entire beef fake? I don't know, man. I'm not sure. President Trump said no hard feelings against Elon Musk, And then maybe he wants to be a friend again. Here's the Now Kith meme. Thank you very much. Now Kith. Thank you. Now Kith. You might want to just have this one permanently loaded. Here's Donald Trump.
Happened with Elon. Is there anything that you can do to forgive him? Could you see that happening?
Well, look, I have no hard feelings for it. I was really surprised that happened. He went after a bill that's phenomenal. It's the best thing we've ever signed in this country, and that's phase one. Phase two, phase three. All of a sudden, is it all comes together. It's coming together so well. And when he did that, I was not a happy camper. So it's too bad.
He says it's too bad, but President Trump at the White House earlier this week saying, no, I'm not going to sell my Tesla. And more importantly, I'd have absolutely no problem hanging out with Elon again. And this is what we want. As we have stated time and time again, I know there's a lot of there's tons of Team Trump people. There are some Team Elon people. I love all of you. I don't want there to be a war here. You don't have to be in open warfare. You shouldn't be enemies. What we should want out of this relationship, and it's never going to be perfect, it's two bulls in one pasture, as we've described. It's not going to be perfect, but you shouldn't want enemies. You should want allies. We have a better, more stable country and a more stable land, and we live in a better nation, and we save Western civilization when Donald Trump and Elon Musk are allies and not enemies. It doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to be besties. The whole, first best buddy thing was obviously going to descend into something, and we predicted that. And here it is, right? They're both alphas. They're both masculine. They're both incredibly smart. They're both very powerful. Elon Musk went too far and has now apologized. Good. Here's President Trump then reverting back, coming back, saying he has no hard feelings. He's not going to sell his Tesla. He's not going to get rid of Starlink. And he wants to talk with Elon. Wow. Here we go.
Are you going to get rid of the Tesla and the Starlink service that you have here at the White House?
No, I haven't heard that. I mean, I may move the Tesla around a little bit, but I don't think we'll be doing that with Starlink. It's a good service.
Where are you going to move it to? Move it around. What do you mean?
I have a lot of locations.
Actually, about the Tesla.
I got so many locations that I don't know what to do with them all.
About the Tesla, did you ever see Elon Musk get physical with the Treasury Secretary?
No, I didn't.
And I tried to ask.
They did have an argument. But I didn't see a lot of physicality there.
And there was this New York Times report that he did not want to talk about, Elon Musk, that alleged that he, towards the end of his time in the White House, was blurring the lines between recreational use of drugs and medicinal. Do you think he ever had drugs here at the White House?
I really don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. Look, I wish him well. You understand. We had a good relationship, and I just wish him well. Very well, actually.
On Elon Musk, do you plan to speak to him on the phone anytime soon?
I haven't really thought about it, actually. I would imagine he wants to speak to me. I would think that. If I were him, I'd want to speak to me, and maybe he's already called. You'd have to ask him whether or not he's already called. But I'd have no problem with it.
If he called you, you pick up and speak to him?
Well, I don't want to say that, but I would imagine he'd want to talk to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want this back. I want them to now kiss, okay? I don't know exactly where this meme comes from, but it's perfect for this moment. Mike Tyson was actually with President Trump this past weekend at UFC 316, and so maybe that was a sign, obviously. Okay, it's good for the country. It's good for us, and I'll tell you what's also good for the country. Here's me this past couple days at Fort Bragg, just me and I guess camo and fatigues, being escorted around the base by Special Forces, trying to do Special Forces training, failing horribly. 82nd Airborne, pretty kick-ass. D-Day, all that stuff, is freaking great. We got to see him train. We got to hang out with people. We got to wear a very, very poorly sized helmet, which sucked and hurt my head. And will come as no surprise, I have a big head. But we're able to watch some cool training, and we're able to, more importantly, assist in producing something, hopefully, that will really make the Special Forces proud that we embedded with. We even got our own Johnson name sewn into a patch. Freaking cool. And again, has been our honor. We got back incredibly late last night. I am horribly sunburned because of it and potentially a little malnourished. So let me tell you a little something about what I did this morning. I got up. I made sure I had my Field of Greens. The Field of Greens product from Brickhouse Nutrition is something that keeps me fit as a fiddle. What it does is it ensures that I get the fruits and vegetables that I need. It comes in a very, very easy to consume form, and I am able to stay fueled with a glass of delicious doctor-formulated Field of Greens every single day. I feel better this morning. Not at 100%, but I feel better this morning. It's just been I don't know how these guys do it. I don't know how they do it. We were out with the special forces for 2 straight days, and I'm like exhausted. I'm just freaking, it just makes you really deeply respect these guys, okay? Field of Greens. A customer for Field of Greens wrote, "The best blood work I've had in a decade. My doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Another said, "This is the first time in years my cholesterol numbers are normal." This mom said, "After Field of Greens, my hair, nails, energy, blood, work, it's all better." How can a fruit and vegetable drink promise better health? If you eat fruits and vegetables in the Field of Greens product that was doctor selected for vital organs, heart, liver, kidneys, metabolism, immune system, healthy blood cells, ladies and gentlemen, they have a guarantee that you are going to get better numbers on your health, okay? So let me get you started with that guarantee. 20% off and free shipping. Visit fieldofgreens.com. Use the code Benny, fieldofgreens.com. Code Benny to live a better, healthier life today. And quite frankly, the way that we're getting through the show this morning, ensuring that we have all the energy to do so. Thank you, Field of Greens. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as promised, President Trump on Gavin Newsom yesterday at a kick-ass speech at Fort Bragg, where he's surrounded by the 82nd Airborne, who we just trained with for like a few hours, okay? Again, kick my ass. You wouldn't believe like how heavy these packs are that they jump out of planes with. It's really impressive. Okay, here we go.
Wearing a uniform because you don't know exactly who they are. In Los Angeles, the governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles, they're incompetent, and they paid troublemakers, agitators, and insurrectionists. They're engaged in this willful attempt to nullify federal law and aid the occupation of the city by criminal invaders. That's what it is.
Criminal invaders. Man, this is a good one that really like cements exactly what we were talking about on today's show. President Trump on the descent into madness in Los Angeles, what caused it and what we can do about it. Saying it, of course, at the world's largest military base. Extra effect here. Badass, go.
Within the span of a few decades, Los Angeles has gone from being one of the cleanest, safest, and most beautiful cities on earth to being a trash heap with entire neighborhoods under the control of transnational gangs and criminal networks. It's horrible what's happened so quickly. As the entire world can now see, uncontrolled migration leads to chaos, dysfunction, and disorder. And you know what? They have it in Europe, too. It's happening in many of the countries of Europe. They don't like it when I say it, but I'll say it loudly and clearly. They better do something before it's too late. Very simply, we will liberate Los Angeles and make it free, clean, and safe again. It's happening very quickly.
Liberate Los Angeles. Why is the battle for Los Angeles always Marines versus aliens? Why? It's always that. In every movie. There's probably like 50 different movies where it's always they call in the Marines versus the aliens in Los Angeles. We're going to come up with a comprehensive list. Again, and I do like the cheesy gordita crunch. I think we're gonna stick with that nickname. We're gonna like workshop it. We'll come back with you tomorrow on the best possible nickname. There's a nickname for this individual, ladies and gentlemen, who's going viral right now, which the nickname here is false advertising, breaking all the rules. This is a lib who, in her National Guard uniform, decided to go on a rampage against President Trump. Let's listen in for just a second.
Pawns for Donald Trump's agenda. Why now? It's because the military was called upon innocent protesters. We, in our oath to serve, we serve the people of the United States. The Constitution, these constitutional rights are being stripped and just denied, and the military will not be pawns to that. So I'm calling upon the conscience of military members who served previously and now. We have a conscience, we have mind, and we have a duty and moral obligation to say no and resist evil.
Got it. Okay, so now you're calling for open insurrection against the commander-in-chief in a military uniform. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out. I called the Pentagon this morning before the show. I said, what's up, Pentagon? Can you please tell me about this viral army soldier that's gone thermonuclear in left-wing circles? Yeah, the Pentagon told me, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. Pentagon just confirmed to me that the army soldier in this viral video was discharged from the Texas National Guard 5 years ago, over 5 years ago, on June 5th, 2020. Protesting or demonstrating in uniform is strictly forbidden under Army Uniform Code, and we'll get that uniform stripped from you, in fact. So actually, my suggestion to all the libs in the Army, this is a great way to perhaps exercise some of those libs out of the Army. Yeah, go for it. Go protest in your uniforms. Yeah, please show us who you are. This individual may not enjoy her fame, given the fact that her family are criminal aliens. Check this out. Her entire family is here illegally. This is one of the top comments to my post this morning. Now this post has actually gone viral. 4,000 likes, 15,000 likes, 4,000 reposts. And the top comment is a photo of this activist's Instagram, who again was discharged 5 years ago, yet is wearing this uniform and protesting in this uniform for effect, I suppose. It's still illegal. You're still not allowed to do that. It's still dishonorable. But would you look at this? To come and take my immigrant mom? Is your mother here illegally? Yikes. And is that a threat? Memorial Day dare, come and take my immigrant mom. Is it with like an AR-15? Is that a threat? This seems like this seems crazy. Is that proof? Does she have like a criminal alien mother? I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, is this a post from her? Oh, okay. My mother, she walked out of Honduras. I am considered an anchor baby. Okay. So is your mom a criminal alien and you're like outing her? And are you calling ICE on your own mom? That's dark. Man, that's whoa. Yikes. This is gonna be in the F around and find out Hall of Fame. If ICE does the single funniest thing, they have the opportunity to do the funniest thing. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry that the former LA County Sheriff was not able to join us today. He was on, but he had major technical difficulties. There's a lot of stuff going down in LA right now. So, yeah, technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we'll try and rebook him. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you like our programming and want to support the show in a way that is completely and totally free, head on over here to this QR code. This QR code will bring you to our podcast as it is broadcast after the show. You know, it's like sometimes you can't catch it live. It's called an RSS feed, and we're doing our very best to make sure that we're strong on all of our platforms. And so this is one of the ways to do it, ladies and gentlemen. This is our RSS feed. Please subscribe. You can do so by just clicking a button. It's totally free, and it really helps us out, and we thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare ye the way of the Lord for the verse of the day from Psalms 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in the spirit. There are a lot of people, and I hate ALX, Danny, grabbing that verse from Deuteronomy, please, about foreign invaders in the land. That's like an obvious verse of the day for this show. That's okay. Klein just came back. He hasn't been part of the news cycle. Klein just got back from a much-needed vacation, and we're not going to fault him for that. We are going to say, though, that Klein did what you should do on vacation, which is unplug. And so Klein wasn't really locked in on the news cycle. There's a great Deuteronomy quote. I'm not sure if you got it. Yeah, okay. That's savage for this. So let's start with this one. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and those who are crushed in spirit. This feels like the verse from for the last couple of years, because all of these problems accelerated. They didn't exactly start 5 years ago, but they've certainly accelerated 5 years ago. And now we're dealing with those problems. Oh, we were brokenhearted as we watched all this happen to our nation. We're brokenhearted as we watch our nation descend into further flames and chaos right now. But the Lord is close to us in these moments, and we're thankful for that. Also, the Bible, in all of its deep and abiding wisdom, has warned good people against foreign invaders. There's a fascinating verse that went viral this past weekend from Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 44. Foreigners who live in your land will gain more and more power, while you gradually lose yours. They will have money to lend you, but you will have none to lend them. In the end, they will be your rulers. Foreigners in your land will eventually take over your land, take all of your money, take everything from you, and enslave you. Don't let too many foreigners into your land, or none at all. How about that? Like, keep your land safe and secure by ensuring that the people who are here want to help build in this great American experiment, and more importantly, aren't here to destroy this great American experiment in a country that they didn't build and in a land they do not love. And actually, a great act of love, since we're talking about our verse of the day, would be to send the foreigners back to the land that they love, right? So if you're caught waving a flag of a foreign country in this nation, which has always annoyed me and made me very angry, then, you should be guaranteed a free trip back to that nation, okay? So, good luck. Hopefully Rosie O'Donnell's waving her Irish flag. She's already gone. What a great time to be alive. A lot of things happening. We're honored and blessed to be here. We will be live for Carolyn Levitt's press conference in about an hour and a half. Okay? Because, why not? There's too much going on in the world right now. We just want to say thank you for being on our live today and rolling with us through some ups and downs and through a couple of days that we needed to spend doing our best to try and support our American military. And so Godspeed. We love you. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
It's been 3 days since I escaped. They're still looking for me, so I only travel at night. Ooh! I am starving, but I did manage to take a bag of chips with me. I will eat just one chip so that I can keep going, and I will save the rest for the starving little ones. I also got a drink from the flotilla. The little ones will do better with water anyway. I'm sure they won't mind. Yum, this is delicious. It's day 4 and I'm not sure if I will make it to the strip. I can't go on. I fear this may be it for me. Cameraman, take one of these slices of pizza and go without me.
Guess what day? The tale of the rooftop camelos. Look down at the animals burn in the city of lost angels. Hey, Gavin! Go back and tell the others you got a small problem. The rooftop camels have a helicopter. Free rides for Gavin and the foreigners. But guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day? It's hump day. Get it on. Hump day. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal weeds. Soon will the penny penny show. Come to mind the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for number one. Show. Come to mind the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.